Hi, I am Harish Godeti and welcome back to Nava Software Solutions YouTube channel. Continuing on the topic of AWS Migration Evaluator, in the previous video, I explained, I gave you an overview, a non-technical overview of Migration Evaluator, why it is useful, what it does, why it is the critical core part or the starting foundation of any migration. In today's video, we're going to look at Migration Evaluator in depth in a technical way so that you understand what it does behind the scenes to build the business case, right? So let's get started. So this is the architecture of migration evaluator. So it's not like this is the final thing or this is the only way to use. It depends on the customer. It depends on their policies and things like that. But in most scenarios, this is the typical architecture of migration evaluator. As you see, you have the corporate data center, that is your organization, right? You have your data center, whether it is in-house, whether it is outside, it doesn't matter. You have your all on-premise servers, right? So then we create an AWS account for you. It's the migration evaluator always runs in your AWS account. It's not gonna host it. It's not going to be deployed on an AWS account that doesn't belong to you. It will be in your AWS account only, so that you have all the data. So it could be yes east 1, it could be yes east 2, doesn't matter wherever it is. So we deploy the so that's where the migration evaluator management console works. And the evaluate migration evaluator collector, which you see here, what it does is we deploy it in a Windows server. We create a new instance and it runs in it, and it builds its own local database, and where it stores everything, and everything is encrypted, right? And then what it does is there are two ways for you to go ahead and get all the information or the collections. One is an automatic workflow, right? So where it collects everything and puts in bucket, into your cloud. And then there is a manual workflow as well. So it depends. Hey, if you're comfortable doing it an automated way, it does it automatically. So let's understand how everything works. So the first step is the data synchronization. So what it really means is evaluator collector migration evaluator collector supports collection from both migration assessment, network visualization, and tracking. So it does all those three things. All right. So let's look at automatic workflow, how it looks like. So if enabled, let's say if you are using automatic workflow option, then data collected each day is exported from local encrypted database, which I showed you earlier, to S3, basically to your cloud instance in S3 bucket in your cloud. Right. Manual workflow is basically when you are providing files for the business case. Let's say you already have data in Excel or somewhere. Then what happens is all that information is pushed into the migration evaluator management console, right? And you upload them manually to the management console. Still those files are saved in an S3 bucket and managed by migration evaluator. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it is automatic or manual, all the data is still stored, the files are still stored in an S3 bucket within your AWS account. So that's the data synchronization. And also that's for the collection of infrastructure data. Now let's look at what it does for collecting the application discovery. So there is infrastructure information like server configurations and stuff, and then there is an application configuration, right? Whether you are running a .NET application or all the application information is also collected, right? Again, same process. If you have if you use automatic workflow, it will go ahead and use AWS application discovery service account. It will fetch all the information and build that network visualization automatically. If you have that information manually in Excel in other places, you import it into AWS Migration Hub, and there are templates on how you can do it. and it shows it, it gets imported into the migration hub. So same thing like we do for the infrastructure, where you gather information about servers, hardware, all the specs. The same thing for application, you will have the same data. So this is how the first thing is to sync the data. So what data synchronization means is now AWS knows what you have, right? So this is the first step that we do. Then we start collecting the data for, like I said, a period of 7 days, right? So now we will understand what the monitoring and collection looks like. So data collection, all the like I said, everything is encrypted and your Windows admin will have access to it, right? So the monitoring of, what it can do is it can monitor VMware infrastructure, it can monitor Hyper-V, it can monitor Windows or Linux bare metals and network, all the four, right? So for VMware infrastructure monitoring, the collector communicates with each vSphere virtual appliance, not actually the virtual machine, just the vSphere, and gets all the information through SOAP API, vSphere SOAP API over HTTPS. If you are monitoring an Hyper-V infrastructure, what it does is the collector communicates with each Hyper-V host, and again not the actual machine, and gets all the information with the port numbers that are mentioned over here. For bare metal machines, it uses ICMP to SNMP and other things to get all the info. So there is a sequence of protocols that it tries to use to get the information. If one doesn't work, it will go move on to the next one and does that job for you. So that's for Windows or Linux bare metal machines. For monitoring networks, I mean everyone knows, simple network SNMP. It will go ahead and use it and within those port ranges and get all the information, and builds this nice visualization of that I showed you earlier. So what it also does is it does collect all the SQL Server instance information, right? It goes ahead and tries to connect to run some SQL queries and get all the information of your number of SQL instances that you have within your infrastructure. So as you saw, SQL information, VMware information, bare metal, network, Hyper-V, you can do all of that with the Migration Evaluator. So it does, I mean, it's an amazing tool to do that does this job, right? So it simplifies a lot, and I'll also explain up the business case that it creates at the end as an output. But first let's look at the sample output of of this Migration Evaluator. This is a VMware collection output sample, so it'll give an, I mean, it'll give a nice formatted output like, hey, what data center we have, that is names, the values, host access. So it gives you all the report like this. If it is on Hyper-V, then you get the host system, you get even the virtual machine details, everything is there on the VMware also. Here I just gave you an example. So it goes ahead and get these beautiful reports on all the well formatted reports on all the stuff that you have running in your environment. Simple thing, same thing for SQL Server. It goes ahead and gets you all the information about the SQL Server instances that you are running, whether it's a cluster, whether it is what version it is, and all of that stuff, right? And what edition of SQL Server and everything. So yeah, so this is the the technical overview of Migration Evaluator, what it does, how it does, so that your technical team can understand, hey, and give the required, and don't need to worry about hey, what does it do, right? So this is just an overview, and if you are engaging a partner to do it, they'll explain it in much more detail. Thanks for watching this video. Do subscribe to this channel so you can learn a lot about AWS migrations. Thank you.